Welcome to The Good Ride. I'm James Beastie, and thanks for being here all these years while I geek and tweak over gear. Next to me is the Nidecker Mosquito. I tested this with the Union Atlas, the K-On X, Nidecker Rift Lace Ride Fuse boots. I got this in a decent amount of conditions, some pretty good powder, and some pretty good spring snow. To give you a short summary, it's little, it's light, but it's aggressive. It's really locked in, powerful, drivey. It's way more damp and way better at dealing with moderately uneven conditions than you would think for a little 148. It took a second to adjust to this aggressive technical nature that you get in such a little package. So let's talk sizing. This little 148 felt great for me. I was hoping for the 152. I thought that would be a better fit for me, especially for my weight. But the 148 was all I needed. I think if I were to choose between the two to purchase one, I'd probably go 148. Now, when it comes to the shape, this is not very tapered. Kind of like the Mellow, where it didn't have a lot of taper. It really surprised me. And then it has a lot of setback on board. You're really riding off that camber that really is pronounced from the beginning of the front foot all the way to the tail. You would think all this early rise before the nose would mellow this out and make it more forgiving, but it's not. It feels almost like a full camber board. It feels really locked in. I felt very tentative skidding a turn. This is more for those who like to always be on rail and really understand full camber technical rides. Even though this isn't, that's what it feels more like. Now let's talk flex here. This is very stiff. This feels like none of this right here bends, and it's got lots of energy back. The nose is a little softer. I'd say the nose is like 6 or 7 out of 10, and then the rest of this feels like a 10 out of 10 until you get to the tail, and then more like an 8 or a 9 at the very end of this little moon tail here. So this board has lots of energy. To get this to pop was pretty easy for how aggressive this is. I could butter okay on the nose, and I could lean back into the tail a little bit, but that's not really what this is for. You have to be really strong and really technical to be able to butter this. Then you take this flex personality and this little size board and you put it into uneven snow, wet, messy snow, hard, micro bumpy snow. It really surprised me at how competent it was for its size. Usually boards that are 148s like this, that are similar width or wider, are really bucky and bouncy in uneven snow. It's just a mess. Yes, this is gonna be a little bit bucky, but it's less bucky than most of its peers, and it rode a lot bigger in the conditions I had it in. I was really surprised. Now, when it comes to base glide, you have a very fast base. I love Nidecker's high-end bases, especially good old black bases. It has a bit of a tune to it and a decent amount of structure, but not too much structure. It's up there with the best of the best. If you like a fast base for midwinter and you just want to keep your speed even on a little board, this is great. In spring, you've got that structure, so it's not gonna suck up and just hold to wet spring snow. Now, if you want to point it, this has a very deep, very turny side cut, but I was surprised at how well it tracked when you wanted to point it. And this can handle speed a lot better than you would think for a 148. It felt damper than I thought it would for how light and poppy it was. It does a very good job at absorbing chatter at moderate speeds. If you like to point it, look at the smoke or the gun if you want to do that. When it comes to edge hold, I was really surprised at the Nidecker Mosquito. It grips really well. I don't know what they're doing here. Maybe it's this interesting sidewall construction, has just great transfer of energy into the edges and it holds really well. Or maybe it's just that the camber ends like right here and at the tail, so your feet are really close to where the camber points end, and there's a healthy bow of camber pointing down into those those areas, it gripped really well. I wouldn't say it's an ice specialist, but if you consistently see hard snow, I think this will do a pretty good job. When it comes to turn initiation, this was pretty quick edge to edge. A lot of short wides can be a little slow when initiating a turn and getting the board to engage, but this wasn't that slow. It's a little locked in and a little powerful for what it is. So it didn't quite initiate super fast, but it was like medium fast, and it initiated a turn really well. And when you got it on edge, you have a pretty turny radius. So this definitely likes across the groomer to circle cards a little more, but it's not the turniest of turny. You can make down the line turns pretty well. I could drive pretty well off the front foot on a carve. I felt like it really likes to lean into a turn off your front foot, then bring it center weighted or even to back foot as you complete the turn. It has this locked in, powerful, poppy, springy carve to it. So when I really engaged on a turn, this lit up for me. So when it comes to powder, I knew this was going to be a good floater just by looking at it, and then when I got it in powder, it's exactly what I thought it would be. It's very set back on board, and with a 21¼ inch stance width set all the way back, you can get negative 7.65 inches back from center of board. That is a shit ton. You are riding the tail. It definitely feels more like you're on a surfboard. It's got this locked in feel to it, even in powder. Less slashy than I thought, but still when you slashed, it slashed hard. It's just a little more technical, a little more aggressive for its size. It's not a chill board for powder riding, but it floated really well, especially for a 148. So overall, I think it's more of a unique board, especially because it's so locked in and a lot more technical than most boards like this. But I think a lot of people, especially those who love to carve on small boards, but still want a good amount of float and powder, could really enjoy this.